Welcome to the day at Indy. This is a delightful Tuesday, May 14th evening. Sun has already set. Speaking of suns, a very fast sun, Conor Daly is with us for the very first day at Indy with Indy 500 practice to speak about, presented to us by Cooper Tires and the Justice Brothers. How are you, Mr. Conor Daly, decked in all kinds of airforce.com gear?
Well, someone mentioned to me that the first day of practice that I did last year, we did no laps. So I did 99 today, which is nice. But yeah, man, I'm feeling good. A little tired now after day one. Nice to, I never got out of the car this morning and never got out of the car this afternoon. So I can't complain at all.
I recall being in your pit box last year and you standing on the pit wall and looking down wondering why the driver of the car was there, but the car for the driver wasn't there. So I'd say we're batting 1,000 so far. Looking at speeds and such, 19th on the overall speed chart, 14th on the no-tow list in your Andretti Autosport Honda. Give us some insights about this first full day at Indy practice as a member of this kind of raging monster of Indy success.
Yeah, well, honestly, most of the morning we were in the top 5, and then most of the morning we were in the top 10 when people started really going for it. So this morning we really wanted to go out there and try and find a couple cars to get a good big lap in and kind of get a good run with some traffic. But we literally could not find it to save our lives, which is sort of normal for me. Whenever we want to try and go fast, we can't really find the right situations to do that.
Conor needs a friend. Hashtag Conor needs a friend.
It was just weird. But it was fine. We were hoping to do that in the afternoon, but we wanted to commit to a pretty substantial change for the afternoon, and we did. And I hated it. So the whole afternoon we just had to kind of drive around with that and try to make it work, and just couldn't do it. So didn't really suit my style. Zach and Marco didn't like it either. So, but they were able to get off of it. But we didn't have enough time to go back and change it. So, it is what it is. We sort of found out something that I didn't like, which is fine. And then we weren't able to drop a big lap there when everyone was kind of doing it at the end of the day, which is fine. And when we did our fastest lap of the day, I'm lifting, I'm all over the place. So it's like, so I think the car actually has quite a lot of speed, which is really encouraging. Even when the car was, really sort of diabolical, what I thought at the end of the day, we were still in the middle of packs and still running with people and still able to sort of feel it out. And so that would have never happened last year. So it was nice. It was nice to be able to, have that, in our back pocket for tomorrow when we obviously go back to what we liked and then continue going from there.
Share with folks, Conor, about how today's opening day of practice, we only have a couple of days of practice before we all have to go qualify and try and make the show. You'd hope that every change, everything on your engineer's list is just going to be a positive. It's going to add. There's also the process of elimination. It's not as if the change isn't going to work, but part of getting a car to where you need it to be is nope, that sure as heck ain't it.
Yeah.
It's an accepted part, even though frustrating.
Well, there was a reason why they wanted to run this certain change, right? There was a specific reason that if we could get away with it and if we could make it work, it would be good. But it wasn't. So for me, some things suit my driving style, some things don't, and we sort of know, which direction to go, I think now, which is nice. But yeah, in a big team, we got all drivers changing certain things and trying different things, and some of it worked for some of those guys today and some of it didn't. So yeah, I think that it's nice to at least be able to come back to the meeting and say, hey, here's what I thought and here's what these guys thought, and at least some of the other guys were sort of confirming what I thought, which is nice. At least I wasn't on an island. So yeah, it's just day one. You know what I mean? It's just day one of figuring things out, and trying to get to where we want to be come Friday.
Let's talk about this engineering meeting. They've become somewhat famous with Andretti Autosport. There are great photos that all the shooters take, usually at the end of the day, with 4, 5, 6 drivers all huddled together around a timing stand. Obviously, you don't do all the debriefing there. The real in-depth stuff takes place back in an engineering trailer in the garage in the engineering office. What's that like, knowing that you've been in and around the team this year, obviously, but this is your first time to plug in with a Ryan Hunter-Reay, Rossi, etc., and share thoughts, receive feedback from them. I don't know if I can really think of any time you've had more than maybe 2 teammates in an environment like that. What was this one like?
Well, last year there was 4 cars, but it wasn't really as a receptive environment. It was really just kind of 2 that were doing their own thing, which I understood. But I think all these guys have accepted the fact that I think like they know that I could be a good teammate, which is cool, and I certainly know that they're all really good teammates. So it's been fun to be accepted into that environment, and people asking me what I think of things, which is cool. So I look forward to Today was obviously a little bit different, considering we had to separate the day for the the ROP and rookies. So I think tomorrow will be the fact that or more of a day where we see us all huddling in pit lane, right, and sort of talking about some stuff, because we know it's going to be that 6 hours of just running.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting to see how it progresses. But I'm excited to be a part of that process, right? And we know already day one that I think we've got some speed in this machine, which is cool. I think we've sort of established where we think each manufacturer is as well when it comes to easy speed, and we might be struggling a little bit there, but you never know. You never know what happens as the days progress.
Let's get one more topic here before we go to the questions that were sent in. Your primary sponsor in Air Force, a little bit different, I would say, than maybe some of the full-time drivers who have year-long activation plans, etc. This is an event where you need to just absolutely maximize everything for them, not just to make sure they go home happy with your month of May efforts, but hopefully to strengthen that relationship even more. What's this month going to be like for you, being a race car driver / representative / promoter / obligation filler? I think it's going to be intense.
Yeah, it's a lot, honestly. Even with the way it is now, where we're running 11 to 6, right? Like, it's hard to schedule things. Even tomorrow, I'm trying to schedule something for like 10 a.m. sharp, because we want to be out at 11 a.m. ready to go, and I didn't get out of the car at all today. So and then we were trying to organize this, and I'm like, hey, it's almost 9 o'clock, and I'm like I sort of want to sit down, but I haven't been able to just kind of sit and relax and look at really anything yet, except for when we were in our meetings. So it's fun to be a part of that, but you just got to make sure you stay ahead of that mentally, and I think we'll be able to do that, but yeah, it's no different from when it gets busy any race weekend, right? You just gotta compartmentalize things, and I'm prepared to do that. This is just day one, so once you get through this day, you'll figure out, all right, tomorrow, when you don't separate the day, there will be downtime. We're not going to be running at 3:30 to 4. Like, there's going to be time where we're it's going to get warm or something's going to happen, and you're just going to be down making changes, and that'll be the times where you can be like, all right, we're just kind of hang out for a little bit.
As someone with a fine background in hooning, did you get a chance to see Colton Herta's spin coming off of turn 2? As I mentioned to him,
it's a very Colton Herta type thing, right? Didn't hit anything, totally fine, and he's still P5 or P4.
I said to him, look, this car running P5 today, yeah, it might be good for running the Indy 500. That's a pretty crappy setup for drifting, though, man. So, any thoughts there? Where would, on a 1 to 10 scale, what would you give that little attempted drift there?
I respect it.
Okay, just a respect. It's like, that's good.
I don't think I was like, we were talking about something in the meeting, and like getting up to speed or whatever, and it was sort of like just going off the fact, he's like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, but just watch the old pit exit there, pal? And yeah, it was kind of one of those moments where I thought about, I was like, how is this warm up lane in turn 2 the next time I went out, and I was like, that's not that bad, but it's a little sketchy when you're trying to get up to speed. So I get it. I get it. And he's a rookie, so you got to find those things out, right?
Hopefully you pantsed him or something to teach that rook. All right, let's start off with the the questions for you here. We got a good handful of them. Then we're going to get you off to dinner and a nap. Adam Corlett says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried should Fernando Alonso fans be about the problems McLaren appear to be having? He said, is it a 1, no bother, Triple Crown is in the bag, or a 10, oh God, they won't even make the field? I won't ask you to necessarily rate Fernando because that might not be too nice. You guys are going to be in drivers' meetings at some point. At least from this end, although I didn't get the story done in time to post, and who knows, maybe since we're already into practice, maybe I've missed that window, but I did have a note of just kind of things to think about as we're heading into the first week of practice for the 500. I did have a note that said, absolutely do not underestimate the challenge facing McLaren Racing right now. If anything, Connor, I think they are presented with an issue of the name Fernando Alonso brings many things to mind, most of them success. The name McLaren Racing, although recently in F1, no, but we know historically this is an amazing team. Gilles de Ferran, we can run down a big list where you put all these names together and they seem to add up to absolute world dominance. Watch out, we're going to take over things. In reality, it's a team that's been put together with a lot of different parts. Not everybody has worked together. It's not necessarily a super smooth organization. A lot of teething pains. I think you might have seen this or gotten an impression as well that this looks more like a rookie team coming to Indy for the first time than any of those big names I just mentioned. I almost think we should forget that part and kind of look at them for what they are.
Yes.
Rocking up the first time.
Well, I even saw Bob Fernley, who we obviously saw as, Force India team principal doing all the bigwig interviews and stuff like that. I saw him moving like pit wall gantries today, it's like, there's stuff that's going on that I think, it's a new team and they don't have all the things that, these teams have had for years, right? They're setting up things that is all new. And I think, I would almost say, I think from the outside, I would almost, say, why not lean on Carlin a little bit more, right? Or lean on that team that you're going to be paired with, right? Or at least have a relationship with, because I think that's very important. But I can also see obviously why they might not want to do that, right? Because they want to do their own thing, and hopefully we would love to see them back here full time, running 1, 2, 3, however many cars they want to run. You know what I mean? And that would be awesome. And I guess there's no better way to do that than get your feet in the mud and let's start working. I do think the way we see things right now is I think their manufacturer is quite strong overall when it comes to raw speed. So that's good. I think that'll help them. I think that's just, it's just going to be interesting. This is just day one. I don't think we can judge anything, but it is going to be a steep hill to climb for everyone. I think you look at the timesheets today and you see some of the names that are back down the list a little bit that will not be there. We know there's some good people that are down there. Sage Karam for sure. Obviously that kid is really good, and I think there's no reason to think he's not going to be coming up to timesheets quite a lot here very soon. Oriol Servia, obviously, there's guys down there, that are going to be up there. So where does that leave you? You know what I mean? Where does that leave us? It's going to be really interesting to see how it progresses come Thursday. That'll be an interesting day for sure.
And there are a lot of talented people there. That's the one thing we know for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent.
Really great
not a
people.
question
Yeah. No.
of talent. It's a question of I use the NBA as a way to describe this just because that's how my simple brain works. Is we've seen teams, Connor, where you go, oh my goodness, look at the star, all-star, but do they know how to play together yet?
Yes.
And until they do, it doesn't matter how many all-stars you have.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the phase we're in here, where can this group of highly talented people come together in a ridiculously short amount of time
Yes.
to get in the show on Saturday, hopefully, and if not, sweat their behinds off for the last row, the LCQ,
Yeah.
the last chance qualifying. Sunday morning. That, to me, that's the thing, that compressed time frame. So
I just love that we're asking the question.
I know.
I really do, because I think it really is a fascinating lead up to qualifying, because I think everyone's going to be in that boat of who is going to be that group of people.
Earn it.
You know what I mean? I think it's going to be an earning type of situation. Everyone's going to have to earn it for sure.
Great question here from Paul Kruper. Connor, when are you going to get to junk that Subaru and buy a Civic Type R? At least it wouldn't blow up all the time. You've just got this reputation of a junky Subaru. I'm not saying it's always accurate, but, you know.
Hey, it's running right now.
Okay.
It's running. It's in my garage because thankfully Dennis Reinbold gave me a car to use. So
He's a good
thank
man.
you. Great man. Great group of people over there. Scott, his guy over there at the dealership. Great group of people. So I'm good for now. And honestly, an influx of cash helps all of these situations, right? So just let me get through this month and we'll see what happens.
Very important question here from Kyle Lakato says, will you be at Slushy Music tomorrow night? I don't know what that is.
So I didn't know Slushy was going to be here. Don't think I have time.
Okay.
It is literally after 9 right now, and I haven't even so much as sat down in my bus to look at the television. So I would say no.
Well, we're gonna speed up the old process here. Saying good evening to Donald Davidson, of course. Sam Blakey asks, Marshall, have you seen a more intense opening day of practice at Indy than today? I got to admit, jumping straight out the box, all 4 Penske cars just towing like mad, weaving in and out. Our boy Rossi, who was just carving people up. I mean, yeah, easing into things? Hell no.
Yeah, you'd never want to ease into things here, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, it was really just funny to see kind of Elio go out there and just absolutely throw a massive lap up there early. I mean, heck, we're almost doing 229, or we were doing 229,
He
right?
did 228 like almost right away.
If you're knocking on the door at 230 already, I mean, I'm like, it's really interesting though. I mean, are we going to see that type of speed for qualifying? Or the way the traffic running looked, certainly from my perspective, I think we are still struggling with some of the stuff that we struggled with last year, but the cars do seem to be towing a little bit better up to each other. So, and
for the wicker, the gurney additions and such that were added, the modest change compound wise to the front Firestone and such, these are incremental changes. There was no wholesale, huge reaction to last year. Again, these are incremental things, so I don't know if anyone should expect vastly different outcomes.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to, when the cars are all by themselves, you know, I don't know if we're going to be like looking for new track record type speeds, but like the cars are going fast. So like when we come to qualifying and, you know, if it's 80 degrees, then, you know, we're not going to be talking about, you know, 234, 233 type stuff. But right now in these conditions today, which is obviously very fast, we're already at 229, which is wild. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there lifting and cruising around and not even happy with anything. And you're like, oh, shoot, we're doing 227 almost. That's wild. You know what I mean? I never would have thought we would be at that level yet. So, it's kind of cool to see that. I think that's nice that everyone is going quite quick already. I think that's going to be fun to see as we progress through the week and see what the weather does.
2 questions here on buffeting, then one final one, and we are out the door. John Sable, we'll just roll it into this one here. Brendan, also thank you for sending in yours. John says, where is the head buffeting concern level at for you? Is it just annoying, or is it possibly unbearable, thinking about 500 miles? So maybe we'll talk a little bit about how, say, your little mini windscreen, different than what I saw on a lot of others, where you didn't have the full extension wrapping around the cockpit, seemed a little bit higher in the middle. I know some drivers have been really trying to wedge their helmets into the surround. There's this old-timey rule where the rear helmet wickers that are very effective are no longer allowed. Just share with folks this kind of weird, hey, I just want to drive the car, but now we have this advanced frontal protection device that's kind of given us a new variable to solve.
Well, I think everyone still just assumes my buffeting is bad because they saw it at the test. I mean, I had no issues today, I don't think. So, I mean, I think no major issues today. but we are definitely struggling with buffeting still. All the drivers, I think, like Ryan for sure was not happy with the way the buffeting was. I still, when we're in 3-4 car tows, it does in like big traffic runs. There is a lot going on, but you sort of started to get used to it. But when you really think about it, it's like, this is still not awesome. But it's not like my head is now, like my entire spinal column is like frozen because I'm so sore, you know what I mean, after the day that we had at the test. So I think the buffeting is certainly an issue caused purely by the AFP, right?
Okay.
I guess there's no doubt about that. But like we obviously know we have to get used to that. So there's things being done with the windscreens. Obviously, we're all going to test them and continue to work on that. But I wasn't necessarily struggling with it as much as I would have thought today.
So Andy Maricu's question is going to close this episode of the Day at Indy. Ask something on a similar theme, talking about how you felt running in traffic. Any improvements in general stability, wakes coming off of cars, doing anything differently? Again, I know there were some little changes to notching the front wing, the ends of the front wings to try and reduce some stalling and such. Just curious if and what you felt in a tow.
I think when there's one car, very easy to pass. Here we go. That's great. But when there's a big train of cars, I think there's a lot of people still struggling with it. I would say maybe less of a struggle than last year, I think, overall. But I still think there was a lot of different inconsistencies in what people were running, tire life wise and aero wise. And certainly in our camp, we were sort of certainly all over the map when it comes to were we trying to trim or were we not trying to trim and run by ourselves, you know what I mean? So there's still a lot to be thought about when it comes to, what are we going to do when it comes to the race? Are we going to have a good race? I don't think we can judge it yet. You know what I mean? I think it is a better package now. I think we're wrapping our heads around it a little bit better now. And I certainly don't think we can, be really like, oh my gosh, is this going to be terrible type of a thing? Because it's not. I think it's an improvement for sure overall.
Andy's last question is for me. Just ask what stood out to me today, what seemed interesting. Other than the obvious cool things that we saw of some big speeds being put up and whatnot, I will admit I wrote a little story about this, about Hinch testing all 4 of the Aerosmith Peterson, or all 3 of theirs, plus Jack Harvey's Meyer-Shank entry as well. I know that they did that for a very good reason, to try and benchmark all 4, make sure from a tuning standpoint nothing was awry. So if there is anything found globally, something found on Ericsson's car could potentially be tried on Hinch's, and we'd know it should be a like for like, easy to work from. I will admit that there's a little something in my stomach that doesn't sit too easily, knowing that of this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice, Friday boost, qualifying's coming up pretty quickly. There's something about me that says I hate the fact that I'm staring at the fastest of the 4 combined Aeroschmidt Peterson Motorsport / Meyer-Shank racing cars. The fastest was 23rd. All 4 cars combined were 23rd or lower, knowing that this day where this experiment, which is valuable, I'm all about time management here and saving. And you go, I hope this pays off, because if not, you have to ask yourself, did we burn valuable time when we should have been cranking away? Looking at the 4 Penske cars, for example, the minute we went green, they were in a train working on race day setup. So that was the one thing that stood out. The other last thing quickly, Andy, is I don't know what kind of dance we need to do for Pato Award, but his number 31 Chevy has not been very friendly here, at least at Indianapolis, with a variety of mechanical issues and electrical issues and whatnot. So hopefully he can come out and play and finish his ROP tomorrow.
He didn't finish that?
No.
Really?
He got 14 laps total today.
Really?
Yeah, car was grumpy.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah,
honestly.
so
I feel like you just sort of look at things and you're like, Oh, he did a certain speed? I'm sure he's fine now, but I had no idea.
Yeah, so practice starts tomorrow at 11. They're actually going green at 10:20 specifically for him to finish his ROP.
Just him?
Hopefully, yes.
Did Hanley finish all of his stuff?
Well,
I'm sorry that
I
we're
take
just
that
having
back.
this conversation
Hey,
on everything, but this is good stuff.
I think so. I didn't hear anything about Hanley for tomorrow morning, but if so, then that's just my ignorance. But yeah, so there's a little bit of an exception there.
Very interesting then.
Last and most important question, what's for dinner?
Well, honestly, like,
don't say Hot Pockets.
I totally respect Andretti's situation because they had dinner for us as soon as the session was over, because I think they knew that we were going to be sitting in the engineering office till like 8:30. So I have eaten. However, I am also now starving again, because I think that was like right after the session where you're like just craving food, but now you're like, you were still burning calories at that point because you were driving a lot. So I don't know. I'm going to go sit down and just think about the day and see what happens.
I had a Cliff's Bar about 4 hours ago, just saying, should I bring a plate for my pal MP?
I have no food over there, but I
see how it is.
Yeah.
I see how it is. All kidding aside, Connor, thanks for taking some time here, man. I know it's been a long day for you, but also thanks for being the first guest on our official start to the month of May here, the real start to the month of May on the little Day at Indy, brought to you by Cooper Tires and the Justice Brothers. We'll be back tomorrow with, I have no idea.
Hey, thank you. No problem.